Something we get asked a lot is why LightBurn? Why should I pay for software when software came with my laser? What makes LightBurn different or better than, for example, RDWorks that comes with Ruida controllers? We get asked this a fair bit. The broad answer is that LightBurn is a responsive development team. We're by no means perfect and will never claim to be. However, we do try very hard to listen to and respond to concerns of our users, produce new features that people want, and we focus a lot on things that improve the overall user experience. And so what I mean by that is anything that gets in your way while you are trying to use the software are the kinds of things that we want to address and fix. And so I had an interesting example recently. We had a user send us a file that he said was causing LightBurn to freeze. So this is that file. This is a vector traced tree stump converted from a bitmap into vectors. When the user ran this file, he said it was freezing up when he tried to send the job to his controller. I have a fairly beefy gaming system that I use for development. So when I run this file on the currently deployed version of LightBurn, the shipping version 9.07, it takes about 1 minute 31 seconds. Sorry, pardon me, it takes 3 minutes and 10 seconds to process this file. 3 minutes and 10 seconds for it to generate from the moment that I click the preview button until it shows the preview. So I can see why the user thought that it had frozen. The timing bar that pops up, or the progress bar, was fairly non-responsive. So I took a look at the content of this file and what it was doing, where the work was going, or where the time was being spent. And it's fairly heavy. I'm going to set this to 0.1 interval. So the biggest thing causing the slowdown in this file is this. This single line runs all the way around the outside of this shape, and in order to path plan this or to do raster scanning of this shape, the software has to figure out what is inside and what is outside shapes. So as an example, if you have the letter O, the software needs to scan the inside and outside curve of this in order to produce a solid filled letter O. It needs to do them at the same time. The only way that it can figure out to do that is if it knows what is inside what. It has to know that this inner circle is inside that outer circle so that it can scan them together. If you had more than one, for example, this one is inside this one is inside this one, you might have one larger shape surrounding the whole thing, and so on. And so the software needs to go through the content of your file and figure out what is contained within what so that it can plan the job accordingly. This is also used when you are cutting. When you say cut inner shapes first, the software has to know what is an inside shape, what is an outside shape, to plan the cutting path accordingly. So if we set all of this back to the original single color and I hit go, we're going to time this so that you can watch how long this takes. Now I'm timing this in real time. I'm going to hit the preview button and a little stopwatch that I've got here, go. This is going to be in the next version of LightBurn. So we found a bunch of places where some work was being done that we could reuse, and some things that we could do that were a little bit more clever. And so that took 18 seconds to do that from start to finish. That is considerably better than the 3 minutes that it used to take. You'll also notice that, in general, LightBurn's user interface is quite responsive. This file, just this one line on the outside, contains over 30,000 nodes, and they are quite heavy. They're all splines, so they have to be subdivided and drawn as smooth curves and so on. So it's a fairly heavy piece of geometry that's being processed. So to do all of this in 18 seconds is a fairly significant feat. I'm not going to show you RDWorks trying to do this because it takes too long, but I have another file that is similar that I've prepped for this. And this is a piece of a Florida map, and it has a very similar problem in that it has this one outline, and if I highlight it in red here, you can see it. This one shape is one single continuous line that's quite complex and runs all the way down here, doubles back over on itself, goes up and around, and so on. The software has to figure out that all of these small shapes are inside that outer line, this red line. And doing that takes a reasonable amount of time. In fact, running exactly this file in RDWorks takes about 5 minutes and 20 seconds to process this using these settings. So, and by these settings I mean a 0.1 millimeter interval set to fill, nothing special in the overall planning or optimization options, and because we're doing a fill, there's no real path planning involved here. It's just a straight fill. So in LightBurn, I'm going to run this again, and I'm going to time this one as well. So here we go. So that took about 7.5 seconds. Now, you can run this same file if you can find it in RDWorks. I promise you that it takes the time that I say it does. RDWorks took 5 minutes and 20 seconds to process this file. Now, the previous release of LightBurn, the 907 release, took 1 minute and 31 seconds to process this file, which is better than RDWorks, but certainly not as good as what we've gotten it down to. So the new version of LightBurn will run this in about 7.5 seconds, significantly better. I'll show a couple of other small demos. You've probably seen this file before. We've used this in a couple of video demonstrations before. So I'm going to show you this one in LightBurn. So watch. That's how long it took to scan, path plan, do all of the inside-outside sorting, produce the preview, simulate the preview, and draw the final picture. And so that all happened in this amount of time, right there. If I go to RDWorks and import that same file, just opening the file takes, a little bit of time. You'll notice that navigating, if I click and drag the view, navigating this file is not very fast. And if I zoom out or zoom in, once you're zoomed in, things move a little bit quicker. But if you're looking at the file overall, if you're looking at the full file, it goes about this fast. Compare that to the view in LightBurn. Things move much faster and much more fluidly. If we go back here, I've got this set to scan, set to 0.1 millimeter interval. I'm going to click the preview button and time this. So that took about 5.5 seconds. And if we drag this out just a little bit, you'll notice even painting the preview takes a reasonable amount of time. It's not terrible, but it's not instant. And you can actually watch it painting. And if I drag the view and move it around, as soon as I let go, it finishes its repaint. Now this gets better as you zoom in closer. You can see things move a little quicker, and that's good. But 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds for it to plan the job. So when I click preview, it takes this long, and that's how long it takes for the preview to come up. If I go and do the exact same thing with the same file and the same settings in LightBurn, it takes that long. And moving and navigating and zooming is this fast. So when people ask me, why LightBurn? What makes it better? And is it worth the money? And so on. The simple answer that I have is that LightBurn is responsive and it's fast. And ultimately, your time and my time is worth money. If it takes you 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes for you to compute a job to send to the laser before the laser even starts working, that's time that you're wasting. that you could be more productive. And so that's one among many reasons why we think you should consider LightBurn. Thanks for watching.